All right, so we're going to build a to-do list app in React as to aid us in our learning of React. The items that we're going to go for: to read a list of tasks, to add a task, to mark a task as completed, delete a task, edit a task, view a specific set of tasks like all tasks, the active, or the completed. So we're going to have some filtering based on whether you're looking at all the tasks, the active tasks, or the completed tasks. So that's kind of where we're headed. I'm going to start by creating a GitHub repo. And I'm going to start without my template this time because, without a set of files, because that created a conflict last time. So I'm going to say vite to do list, something like that. I'll make it public. I'm not going to add a get ignore, readme, or a license because, again, those kind of cause some conflicts. So I'll start this empty. I'll copy the get URL or URI, and we'll clone it. Warning, you appear to have cloned an entire repository. Okay, cool. And then here's my vite to-do list. Let's open it up with code and install vite React from the terminal and see if this gives us better luck than yesterday. npm create vite at latest dot for current directory. And I'm just going to hit enter. Hopefully that gives me the current folder. Now if I click up, arrow up to React, arrow down to JavaScript, hey, now it's in the current directory. I'm going to run npm install, npm I for short. And let's run dev gets us our empty template, which is what we're looking for. Okay, you know, I'm not a designer. To-do list app design. I don't know. What do you want to make this look like?
That one.
Sure. This one?
Yeah.
Dark theme?
Yeah.
I don't know. Big plus at the bottom to add. We got each item. We got some days. We got to-do list, something like this. You know, I'm cool with that. So kind of start out. Remember, there's a couple of CSS files that if you're not really interested in, inside of this main JSX. I'm not really interested in the CSS they provide. And also in the app JSX, there's an app CSS. We can delete both of those. I'm not really interested in their logos either. And I'm not really interested in the markup that they gave me. Not really interested in this counter, but we'll make it say in the root, an H1 that says to-do list app. Still got some CSS being applied here that I'm not a fan of. I want it up where it normally goes.
I don't think you saved in the main.
I did not save in the main JSX. Let me hit Control S. Aha. All right, now, please, for the love of anything, stop closing. Stop closing this. Let's go to Get Bootstrap. We need to install Bootstrap, right? So let's close down our Vite. npmi bootstrap. And now in our node modules, we've got Bootstrap, dist, JS, and CS. So let's bring in not in main, let's in app, import Bootstrap, dist, CSS Bootstrap, and import Bootstrap, dist. I don't want the bundle, let's just say Bootstrap min.js. So here we go, we got the Bootstrap CSS, we got the Bootstrap. Let's type bootstrap correctly, because everyone needs a little bootstrap in their life. And then in order to test this, you know, I was just like throwing in the Bootstrap navbar to test both the CSS and the JavaScript. So getbootstrap.com docs navbar. Copy the kitchen sink, as I call it, and paste the kitchen sink here. It's too much. It's too much, but we need to do a Control F to find and replace the word class with class name. And I'm going to trust if I just click replace all. Okay, I also know it doesn't like this HR without a forward slash on it. And this input needs a forward slash on it. And that should make it happy. Now I need to boot this up. npm run dev.
Yeah.
And let's see what breaks. Certainly you've got some Bootstrap styling with the CSS with this search button that looks like a pretty normal Bootstrap button. And if this drop down list is working, then your JavaScript is working. Of course, we can collapse it into the cheeseburger menu, and Bootstrap is good, right? So at that point, now we don't need the nav, so we can take the kitchen sink out. And make our first component. Guess we don't need this use state from React in here either. Inside of source, I'll make a folder called components, of which I'll create my first component called to-do list.jsx. Export default to do a function to do list and a return fragment here. To-do list. So just wire up a bare bones component, get that spitting back some JSX, and then we're going to bring that into app. Which looks like this. Import to-do list. Now we go down into components, to-do list, and here to-do list, something like that. really just a heading at this point. We have a general look for, we got some icons in there. We'll bring in some icons, some different things. It's a dark theme. All the way back here, okay. So our component is being rendered on the screen right now. Our component just says list. This is where we are. Okay. I do want some icons, you know, so looking forward, there's a dependency, a package of icons called React Icons. Pretty easy, and so I'm jumping ahead a little bit, and I guess I'm jumping around, so let's go to npm.js. Let's search for React Icons, bless you. Which lets you bring in from all sorts of libraries of icons, right? So you guys might remember Font Awesome. So React Icons have Font Awesome library, Material Design icon library, all sorts of icon libraries. So let's npm I React Icons on this. npm I React Icons. And let's look at the docs on this, because what I want to do, like here, import FA beer from React Icons, Font Awesome. Is pretty standard. So now that we've installed React Icons, let's go ahead and boot up our run dev. And let's import FA beer. And let's put a, I guess we're putting a beer here, FA beer. Wait a minute. I think it's a tag, right? So not this. It's a tag FA beer. Like that. And we got a little beer icon. So let's go Font Awesome. And if I search for let's just search for beer. This is our beer. So the question becomes, which one is it? Something like this. That looks like it. And click on React. I always forget how to get the list, because it's not FA beer mug, empty, which is what this is. So I always, getting which icons, again, so if I want Facebook, I'm not sure FA-Facebook, so I always forget this, so I try this, so I'll say FA-Facebook, so comma FA Facebook. It looks like we get some IntelliSense here, which is cool. So then let's put in FA Facebook. The IntelliSense helps me along the way. And there I got my Facebook icon. So that's pretty nice. All right, so then we're gonna start talking about state and our data. And something I might add to this is actually at the end of this, we'll do some session state, local sessions and things like that. Let's import use state from React and const tasks set tasks equals use state, and we're going to have an array of objects. So array of object. Let's bring in nano ID, Control C to stop, npm I nano ID for some random IDs. Boot it back up, and let's import nano ID from nano ID. I forget whether that's destructured or not. ID colon nano ID. Okay, so this is our first task. It's an array of tasks. And we will map our tasks in a list. This is good, unordered list. So right now our array of tasks is just one, but we're using a map function. Again, you use a lot of maps in React. And so this map function built into JavaScript, for each task, put the ID. Remember the root element, right? The root element has to have a key, which is what we're using the nano ID for. We have a checkbox, input type of checkbox, that conditionally is checked based on is completed being true or false. And in between the checkbox, you put what the task is, which is a string which says learn React, inside of the checkbox. Okay, now we're going to apply some Bootstrap styling to this, get some dark themes going on. But this is so far so good. And we'll generate a few more tasks. Maybe ID, nano ID. What do you guys want to make on our to-do list? Good question. Brainstorm to-do items.
Oh, brainstorm to-do items. I was gonna make a hit list.
Let's not go there.
I think it'd be
Pass the exam. Sure.
I think the hit list would only work if you're trying to get a job for like the CIA or something.
Okay, so get a job. We have 3 tasks. Learn React, pass the exam, get a job.
You did is instead of ID.
Okay, let's hit the Bootstrap docs and get some classes in here. Get bootstrap.cs docs. Let's go to background colors. Okay, so BG dark and text. So BG dark class and text. Text color, that's text. Colors, text. Text light. BG dark, text light. Okay. Let's see. So app is our root. And maybe we go here. Div class name of container. Close the div. And text light BG dark. Okay. Let's go to now our form controls. Form checks and radios. So all of our checks and radios go inside of a div class of form check. And then the checkbox itself is a class of form check input. So you have a div class of form check around the checkbox. So let's go here. Let's do a class. Did I just do class on this, or did I do class name? Class name, good. Okay, good. So let's do the class name here of form check input, and there's also a form check label. So those are the two. I don't like this div because it's going to cause a line break, but plus I'm also not sure about putting a div inside of an LI. So let's just kind of start with piece by piece. We have form check input, form check input, and then we have a label. Inside of the label, we put the task. And the class name of form check label. Now, we're going to give this an there's a couple approaches to this, right? So you could have a for and the ID, which their values have to match. There's also a way to put the input nested inside of the label, I think. So I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna nest, I believe this is a thing, if I'm remembering right. So let's see how that kind of draws it up. Okay, that's working. Now, our unordered list needs to get rid of those bullets, and we're going to do that by scrolling up to Bootstrap and lists, list groups. So our UL has a class of list group, and then each LI has a list group item. So these are our classes list group on our UL. UL class name of list group, and each LI has a class name of list group item. Now they want to go 100% of the container that they're in, now that we put these classes on them. Kind of curious if we apply that background, BG dark and text light. I'm going to throw those classes on my list and see what that does. Okay. Doesn't matter. Maybe a battle for another time. Because what we're looking at here, if we kind of inspect each LI, the list group has a background of white because of this class of list group. So if I take the class of list group off, probably gets rid of that. Yeah, I'm just going to take that class of list group off because this is more along the lines of what I'm looking for. Sorry?
Clean the checkbox still really doesn't do anything.
No, yeah, so we have to set it up on check what happens.
Oh, okay.
Right? Right, as to change state, we had to change, we had to make these functions to actually make these checkable. Which is, you're getting these warnings, right? It's like, hey, you don't have an on-change handler for your check event. So far so good. By the way, there is a plugin called React Developer Tools, which allows you to inspect and look at components and kind of see the hierarchy of components in a React app. So that's kind of cool. I drew that up on the board, but if you were trying to understand the hierarchy of components in someone else's React app or in your own, that's useful. I guess the other thing we did is we installed some React icons. And so let's go back here and maybe put an icon on each item here. I don't know. So we don't need beer and we don't need Facebook. But let's say FA React. And let's say comma icon FA React. And next to my task.task, let's put in our task.icon. And you can do this conditionally. Not all of my tasks have icons right now, so this might break. But you can do like, hey, if the task has an icon, then display the icon. It's actually not breaking right now, which is cool. Passed the exam, so let's go FA. Is there a test? Am I just making that up? Yeah, it looks like I'm making that up. So let's hit up Font Awesome. Let's see what's out there in their world of icons. Search for a test of sorts. No. Homework. No. Maybe a pencil. Yeah, let's do a pencil. FA pencil art, sure. Pass the exam, cool. Get a job. FA, I don't know. Maybe we'll have Apple Pay, like you're gonna pay me. Tolerated for now, that's not the important part, but we got some icons in there. Okay, let's make a change handler. To change is completed. Function on checked change. And probably we're going to send in the event object. And just like we did last time, we have to send in which task that we're iterating through. It's like cheat mode. It's getting a little sketchy, but okay. Again, there's always more than one syntax, so I don't think this matches what we did last time. We made a copy of the tasks first. Remember that? We made a copy of the task first. Maybe we so with this tool, there's different iterations, right? And so you can kind of look at, this is very similar to what we did last time. So I'll just use this implementation because it's what we did in our last video. So here we spread the tasks into a new array. So here's an array, spread each task out, get the current task, change the is completed attribute to be true or false based on what's checked, and then set the new tasks to this array. Again, the whole idea here is that these tasks are immutable, so you just can't make changes to these arrays of objects. You have to make a new array, make changes to the new array, and then set tasks to that new array. And so what we now need to do is call this function, right? So down here is our checkbox for each task, and I will say on change we're going to call our function EVT arrow on check changed, passing event and item. Oh, I'm sorry, task. It's not item, it's task. And in the event that I didn't screw anything up, we can now check our items. So going back to our requirements, we are now reading a list of tasks. I would say that is complete. We have not yet added a task, but we can mark a task as completed. So we've kind of done this one and we've done that one. But let's go ahead and do the add task next. Which I remember the big plus button that was kind of at the bottom of our screen. So presumably after our unordered list, we can make a button to add button, and let's do a little icon for a plus here. So FA plus icon. Okay, so primary button, whatever, it says plus. How about some rounded corners on that button? $75, $75. It looks like rounded circle. Class of rounded circle. Margin on the bottom and margin on the left. How about that? So margin start is on the left, and margin bottom, I believe that's going to push it around a little bit. How about it? I suppose we need a text box to allow the user to say what they want to do. And allowing a user to select from an icon, a little bit harder, but maybe we give them a drop-down list of icons they can select from. I don't know if all that's necessary, but let's start with the text box. So how about right next to our button? Okay. So very standard text box, class name of form control. It is worth noting that I actually don't have a form tag. Probably best to go ahead and add a form tag here. You know, it's actually not necessary because we're not really going to be submitting anything to a server right now. It's all client side, you know, but when you actually have a server, you want a form tag there to send the data to the right place. But for right now, we could just handle everything with on clicks, client side. Placeholder, add a new task. Okay. Boy, I'd like to get that on the same line as my button. And because it has the class of form control, it is a display block, but that doesn't matter. I want to display inline. Display inline. So we might need to have a flex box and tell it to deflex. So let's take this guy and that guy, put them in a div. Tell that class name to deflex. Okay. The default styling is just ugly as can be on these text box. Let's say margin bottom 2, or I'm sorry, yeah, margin bottom 2, class name, oh, on, not that, on my text box, class name. Let's push that off the bottom a little bit. Okay. So here's our add a new task. Our new tasks will not have icons. I can get over that. If you want to make a drop-down list of icons, we can do that. But that's not where we need to go right now. Spend our time on that later. Okay. So when we click this button, we're going to call a function called add task. Function on task on add task. In fact, what we barely did on our last one is we didn't even write a function for it. We just wrote that kind of in line here. So if I think back to what we did here, we said on click equals curly's EVT arrow set tasks to an array, and we spread tasks, which are our current tasks, and then we added a new task, which was empty. So ID, bless you, nano ID, task itself. The task itself needs to come from the text box. So that's why we need to go ahead and change this. Sorry folks, let me back up. Okay, I'm gonna make a variable to hold the state of what's in this text box. And so because it's text box, const new task, set new task is use state to blank. So here's a hook for my new task. And so in down here, instead of saying, let's add the value equals new task. And on change, we're going to call set new task. On change, we're going to need an event object. EVT, arrow, set new task, EVT target value. So this is really just a string. This new task is not an object, it's just a string. Call it a new task string. And then whatever they type in the text box is going to set the value of that string and update the value of the text box. And so here, this allows me to add new string for a task. This is not the task object itself, it is just the string. I kind of just want to even change this to be the task string, if you will. But suffice to say, we now have a hook that gets a string into a variable. And when we click the button to add a task, we're going to make a function on add task. Hello. Okay, so we just need to say const new tasks, spread tasks. We're going to push a task with the new task hook right here. Say it's not completed, set the new task, and then empty out the hook, set new task to empty. So here we click the button, we call this function on add task. So if I go down here to my button, I'm going to say on click on add task. So it's pretty simple to call that because there's no parameters. And I know you guys are coding, but let's just say click add, and there she goes. Clears out the task, do the thing, click add, and there it goes. Okay, so we now have adding a new task and reading task. We don't have any sort of filtering yet, but we can do that. Back to our task list, haha, read a list of tasks check, add a task check, mark any tasks as completed check. How about delete any task? Okay, we just need a button to delete.
Maybe after each, like as part of the task that's being read, there's a delete button on it.
Yeah, so here's for each task, we're mapping this. Maybe we put a little delete button here.
I think you wanted it in the LI as opposed to outside.
Oh, where, well, okay. we no longer have a parent. The problem here is that we no longer have a parent. And so I'm wondering maybe if I just fragment this. And it's not happy with that. So maybe, I guess we could put it within the LI? I'm not sure putting a button inside of an LI is a good idea. But let's close this button. Okay, maybe it will allow it. Button danger, delete task. And now we got that. And we'll say margin at the start to push them over. And each LI, we can add some margin at the top. So push them down a little bit. And function on delete task. Maybe we need to take the task in. I'm not. Pretty straightforward. We've used splice before. So this part's all the same. We splice out the index, one element at the index that it exists, and set the tasks to the new tasks. And so, do we need to send an event in as well? I don't think so. So here on click, we send in event. So let's see, I don't think we need event. I keep saying we don't need event. We say on delete task, sending in the entire task object. Send in the task, create a new array, get the index of the thing, splice it out, update the tasks. Now they can go away. Back to our requirements. Okay, delete any task. How about edit any task? We need a button to edit. Very similar to our button to delete. Let's have a button class name, button info, some margin on click, on edit task, function on edit task. Right, so the question becomes, notice this code does a little window.prompt. So if you notice, what this is going to do is it's going to prompt the user to change what the task says. The question becomes, how do you prompt the user? Is there a text box that shows up? In this case, the way to get a text box to show up is with a window.prompt JavaScript method. Everything else remains the same. let's get this in the browser. Of course, I don't like window prompts, but get a job. Get a real job. And so I don't know that I like
I put a complete button that puts the line through it using Bootstrap.
that's something different than we're doing, right?
No.
But yeah,
I thought it was
we can do that. I like that. What I don't, you know, he get a real job. Okay, so I mean, it works, but
Can you change out the add new task to make it an edit field?
um, you almost want to display another component here. On click. Let me think about this one for a second. Okay, we're gonna stop the to-do list here. We'll pick back up tomorrow, and finish this off, so we can do an alumni interview.